Welcome in.
It's actually really weird.
DNVR Avalanche Podcast. We got Rudo and AJ coming to you live as it's Roast My Roster Day. You guys send in a ton of submissions for Avalanche roster, so thank you very much, first of all, for being a part of this and submitting all of your stuff. We chose some of the ones we liked. We're going to go through some of them today.
Liked is an interesting word.
Because like might not be the right word.
The way that it's funny because we call it roast my roster, but I actually spend most of my time looking for rosters that I like, where I think this is a cool idea, this is a cool conversation topic. You know, like that's kind of my approach when I go through them. That's what I'm looking for, and then there are some that I definitely picked because I was like, we're gonna have a dunkathon.
I don't know if there's whole rosters I like. I look at rosters and go, this is a whole bunch of nonsense. But this one move, that's interesting. I like that move.
That's why the 1-0 Tippett deal made it in here.
Don't worry. That's mine also. Which at the end, we will also do ours. So you guys can roast us a little bit too.
Really? That's what you did?
Yeah.
Good God, man.
I did a bunch of other stuff too. It just wasn't big stuff.
For all the shit you give me about how much I love Carson Soucy, your love of Owen Tippett is...
Look, I almost went for Carson Soucy too, so...
So did I. That was the last decision that I had to make on my roster was Soucy or the guy that I actually went with, and it was not Soucy, so...
Wow.
Mostly because I didn't want to have to listen to you be like, oh, of course he's
You just don't like your guys enough. That's what I'm
Well... When you see the deal, you're going to be like, this makes sense. Because I got a different guy that I like.
Oh, God. Okay.
I want to, just real quick, I want to answer this question from chat that says, since Nashville isn't going to sign Galley, should the Avs offer him a league minimum deal? Yeah.
Definitely.
I almost did it in I wasn't going to mess with the AHL team because I was just like, this is too many decisions.
I didn't bother.
But Galchenyuk coming back to the Avalanche organization and playing for the Eagles or being a call-up or
scratch
being
whatever,
in mix for that 13th forward, like... To be honest with you, I would prefer that over Dennis Malgin.
Yep, I would also. Yes, that is why I wore this shirt today, because a lot of you traded this guy. A lot of you did.
Did you?
I did not.
Neither did I.
Well, there you go.
After the Rijo deal, I'm like, I don't have to anymore. Problem was solved. The only reason I was trading Sam Girard was because I couldn't figure out how to get a 2C. Without it.
So I traded a defenseman. It wasn't Girard.
So did I.
And the only reason I traded him is because I needed the cap.
Yeah, well, I will say, knowing that you traded him to Owen, for Owen Tippett, it's pretty funny. The Flyers fans were exhausted going in and being like, we don't need this guy. And it was like, you kind of do. You have Rasmus Ristolainen and Tony DeAngelo, maybe. If you get rid of DeAngelo, you have Cam York as your puck mover.
Yeah.
You kind of need a guy like Sam Girard. Like a steady, unspectacular second pairing guy that can hold it down, who's signed for a reasonable deal.
Give you roughly 40 points.
It's so silly the way that and the Sabres fans also we don't need a left-handed defenseman.
Don't you though?
You know you can play that guy on the right side, right? You can move a guy. You know lots of teams, because there are more lefties than righties.
And Girard does play both sides, by the way.
And Girard plays a lot of time on the right side. And so it was how is it that you guys have either been told this and aren't listening or haven't bothered to figure it out yet?
Yep.
That... He plays the right, going through the cap-friendly ecosystem over the last 12 hours has been really interesting. I immerse myself in it twice a year for this show.
Yep.
And I go, what a cesspool, and then pull back out.
Bounce out.
There are people who just have no idea what they're talking about and are so confidently wrong.
Yep.
And every fan base has one. The one guy that you see in the comments over and over and over.
This is why you don't go into the comment section, okay?
It's crazy, man. It's so great. It's a wonderful tool to use and fun, and it's really fun to play around with different things.
Ignore the a-holes in the comments.
Yeah, that they made the comment section is actually dumb because it's so toxic.
Yeah.
It's so toxic. There's no upside to it.
we say as we're about to dunk on a bunch of rosters. I'm ready when you are, AJ.
I mean, I'm not going to dunk too hard on most of these, but yes.
There's one or two in there.
Cygnus already knows. I texted him and was like, yours got picked. We're definitely going to take a flamethrower to yours. So he knows.
All right. I'm ready, though.
The rest of these will be unsuspecting.
We'll see. We'll see how it plays out. I'll play the bad cop if I have to. Let's bring up the first one. I have no idea where we're starting. So
Holy lordy.
that's a lot of signing. Most of them's like AHL guys, though, right? Yeah. So it's okay. Okay. Eric Brandstrom, Jesse Puljujarvi, Sharon Govich.
He's doing a little bit more.
It looks like they brought Jack Johnson back, Danton Heinen. A lot of people made moves for Danton Heinen. Megan's got her hooks into the...
I almost did.
And then it was Alex Lyon and someone else. And it's back. Oh, and Scott Mayfield and Oliver Ekman. All right, that's a lot of guys. That's a lot of guys.
There's also RFA signings of Brandstrom, Puljujarvi, and Sharon Govich.
I know there's trade. I'm sure there's trades for those guys.
So first off, the what I like here, the new Hook and the Byram deals, I think are at least in the neighborhood of where they will end up.
Yeah, realistic cap amounts.
And for me, that ended up being important because I saw a lot of people like putting
Just
New Hook at like
sneaking stuff under the cap.
yeah, well, putting New Hook
yeah.
especially at like $1 million, and I was
that's
like,
not happening.
he had a 30-point season as a 22-year-old, guys.
He's not getting $1 million.
He's not getting $1 million. Like, stop it.
You way overpaid for Scott Mayfield, but that's okay.
See, he didn't.
He did.
He did not. He's going to get that on the market.
Yeah, and that team's going to have way overpaid for him.
All right. Well, you're not going to like my roster.
Oh, God.
I'm telling you, because this is actually, there are a handful of these moves actually, or this is kind of what I did actually.
I don't mind.
It's going to look like I copied this dude.
I don't mind any of this except for the Mayfield one deal, really.
Okay, well, you know he's making that.
I know, and I think it's an overpay, and he's not worth chasing.
Why?
Because I don't think he's that good.
Why? What's the issue with his game?
The issue with his game is the Avs already have Josh Manson.
Okay. But Josh Manson has been hurt a lot.
Sure. Like, if you're going into this season and know Josh Manson isn't healthy, that's a different conversation, for sure. But if you're assuming Josh Manson is healthy this year, at least to start the season, I'm willing to roll the dice.
All right.
It's just like any other player. They could get hurt, but...
All right, so here's the signings. I want to see what some of the deals are.
Let's see some of the trades. Looks like Pool Party was for nothing, but...
Yeah, well, that's so... Everybody's Puljujarvi thing is he doesn't get qualified, and this is what I signed him for.
Whatever. Right?
So we'll that's how that happened, but it shows up as... a trade of no compensation. So,
all right, you traded back with the first. You got a lot. Also gave away Curtis McDermott, and then you.
I really do wonder if Chicago would be interested in like, hey, like we'll just get a guy to protect Connor Bedard.
Just punch people.
Well, like we're gonna get a guy that we don't want people taking liberties with our rookie because he's gonna come into the league.
He's gonna be
he's
playing
the
at the
hot
top.
shot.
Yeah.
There's gonna, and we know that this isn't the reality.
Yeah.
But this is how teams think.
Sure.
This is how teams operate, is under these kinds of, fantasies. So
At least they feel good about it that way.
yeah, I wonder. So
I still think Chicago probably overpaid a little bit there, but that's fine. One extra pick.
yeah, it's so where I like it is that it's not the Chicago second.
Yeah,
so
right.
It's not the high
it's the later seconds. Yeah.
You have a mid with Ottawa's,
And
then
then
you
a
have a later
late
with the Rangers, and then the third rounder with Chicago.
Which is early, but
So instead of getting 35, you're dropping back further.
getting like 45 something in
So
the
I think
50s.
I think the trade off there. I think the trade off there is that they get the third rounder for not taking 35.
Look, if that's the trade the Avs do on draft day, I would be super happy with it.
Yeah, that's a great deal. I'm great with that. And then this is so big balls.
I don't think Edmonton would do it, but I'd be curious
Wouldn't
about
you
it.
be if you're Ken Holland? Aren't you tempted?
I'm tempted.
I mean, Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is one of the better value deals in the NHL.
Exactly.
And that's a really big deal.
To Edmonton. too, though.
Sure, but that's a really big deal there. But you're also talking about Devon Toews and Josh Manson. Now, they would probably need to include Cody Ceci to come back to Colorado.
You have to have more money coming back for sure. But
so that's that would be the one alteration that I would make there. Now, obviously, Colorado isn't going to love that inclusion.
Yeah, but
at the same time, that would make a lot of sense to me if they put CC in that deal. I think if I'm Edmonton, I'd probably say yes to that deal.
Oof, I don't know that I would.
I know you really love RNH, but also you know that RNH isn't going to repeat the season that he just had.
I know. You're hoping for a 60-point guy out of him.
Sure, and at $5.2 million or whatever, you're talking about he's going to be a fine value for the whole life of that deal.
Yeah, for sure. It is a bit scary if you're Colorado because that's taking a hatchet to your defense.
Yes, it's true, but that's where Mayfield comes in, and then the very next deal he trades
Brandstrom.
He trades Frankie to Ottawa with one of the second rounders that they get from Edmonton.
Yeah.
For Brandstrom, who I think great stylistic fit, but has not proven himself in the NHL.
Yeah.
And the downgrade from Toews and Manson to Brandstrom is pretty significant. That's pretty significant. But in this world, though, you'll end up with a center depth of McKinnon, RNH, and Ryan Johansson.
Yeah, that's
pretty good.
You're sick down the middle, but you're definitely worse defensively.
You are worse defensively. The question is how much worse, because it's not so much the Manson, it's the Toews. But because for me, they effectively replaced Manson with Mayfield.
Right. I mean, look, a lot of this comes down to, all right, Bowen Byram's got to be that guy now.
Exactly. It's entirely on Byram's shoulders to take that next step forward. Yep. So, and then Sharon Govich for one of the second rounders that they got in the original deal. This is the most common deal that we saw across Cap Friendly.
Super common.
Everybody who traded down out of the first round,
a second for Sharon Govich,
gave us always ended up giving a second rounder for Sharon Govich. There were a few that did the first rounder for Sharon Govich and New Jersey's second or third.
Yeah, I saw the third a few times.
I like that variation as well. I thought that made a lot of sense too.
I think for the Avs getting picks back, getting those mid-round picks makes a lot of sense where they can. Not necessarily to make the picks, but to have trade capital to use. Yeah. So I'm with you on that. And then we can go down to the actual roster here. I'm assuming they probably don't want RNH on the wing, but maybe they do.
This is one where I'm not going to nitpick how they set the lineup because you can move all these things around.
For sure, it's not.
When you look at that forward core though, that's really good.
I mean, top six. You're happy with however you want to shake it out.
That third line is really solid.
I love that next to Newhook. Yeah,
you're curious about Puljujärvi. You understand that this could be a total bust. You know that there's a risk there.
Yep.
But if it works, great. And then that fourth line. So my only thing here is that fourth line's really easy to play against. Like as much as I like Myers and as much as I really like Danton Heinen, there's not a very physical element to this. It's LOC and that's it. The other thing here is, out of that bottom six, who's playing special teams for you?
I mean, LOC, obviously. You're probably
end of list.
I mean, you're hoping Pool Party figures it out.
Newhook's on your power play. Sharon Govich is on your probably your second power play. But you no longer have a bottom six full of guys that can help you in a PK role.
You're throwing Puljujärvi and Myers onto the PK and going hope for the best.
It's
right?
It's really Lehkonen and Nichushkin having to pull double duty on power play and PK.
Yeah,
you want to. If I have to
split
choose
those minutes up,
I would prefer Lehkonen to be on the PK and not the power play moving forward. And Nichushkin
less dangerous, sure,
on the top power play unit and then the second PK.
Sure.
So
you'd have some sorting to do there. I would worry a lot about that bottom pairing and how much you might have to shelter it.
OEL and Brandstrom is a big problem for me.
Yeah.
If it's OEL and Jack Johnson,
not as bad. Yeah,
you
have a a defensive guy that you
the thing about
lean on a little
OEL,
bit.
and this is going to just jump the conversation on my roster because surprise, I have OEL, but you're taking the chance that in Colorado's system he's going to be really good for you offensively, and that you get a solid enough defender, just solid enough. The problem here is that he's not sheltered in any way; he's not protected.
You're essentially asking the same thing of Brandstrom
exactly
in that situation,
and that's where I have a problem with this alignment. Is if you were going to do Brandstrom, you needed to do somebody like a Connor Clifton.
I think
instead of an OEL.
I understand this doesn't exist, but had you found a way to keep Manson, and then you had Mayfield and Brandstrom as your bottom, you're golden, right? But,
yeah, I mean, if Brandstrom and Mayfield is your third pairing, it's a pretty interesting third pairing. But Mayfield's not a third pairing defender.
I hear you, not. But a guy who's going to bring you more defensive acumen.
Yeah. And then the other thing there is your PK. Yep. What are you doing on your PK now? Because it's obviously Mayfield.
It's Mayfield. It's probably Byram and Gerard, and then that fourth spot is
exactly.
YOLO.
You don't. I mean, like you throw McCarr out there, but you really want to have a couple of guys out there.
It's tough.
Once again, this is where if you had a Connor Clifton, you would rather take that chance, put him there instead of OEL. So for me, I would prefer. It would have to be either or OEL or Brandstrom. I'm not doing both.
All right, let's move on. We took forever on this one.
Yeah,
we got more to do.
It was one of the more thorough rosters.
There was a lot, and there'll be some repeat stuff.
There will be a lot of repeat stuff, so we will blast through subsequent rosters much faster. But yeah, that was one of my favorite rosters. Just from it's an interesting conversation. Top
all
to
of these
bottom.
different pieces. Yeah. Okay. Next up, we have this one. Newhook for $2 million, Byron for $4.5. So again, reasonable.
The Newhook thing,
there.
He trades Newhook, so it doesn't matter.
Okay, fair enough. This actually did come up a handful of times. This Max Pacioretty deal. You're really rolling the dice there, I think.
Well, let me just ask you, and I don't really care about the money. The money is whatever it's going to be. If it's like it is here, 275. If it's 1.5,
I wouldn't go much higher than 275. I'd put
that's
put
higher than I would go, but I'm not going to nitpick that part of it. Would you do it?
I mean, I would give him the most thorough physical of all time before I did anything for him.
Okay, so you're going to feel up Max Pacioretty. Got it.
Just going to move on. But look, if the doctors say, hey, he's fine, it's not going to be a problem, yeah, sure, I'd do it.
Okay. I agree.
But I would have serious concerns about his health.
You would need some kind of a
confirmation there.
No, I mean, I think you would need to plan for
when it happens.
Yeah, exactly. Plan for injury with that guy. So
yeah. I do think it's an interesting conversation there, though. Then you also got Heinen for your depth. Luke Shen is your defenseman alongside Soucy.
Which would seem like a little extra until you get to the trades.
Yeah. Where, first of all, Newhook and Olausson for Kakko.
Why would New York do that?
I don't know why New York would do that.
If that's Lafreniere, I think it's a different conversation. But Kakko had the 40-point season. He kind of had the breakout that they were looking for. I think they're good there.
Newhook's, in this past season, Newhook's just worse than Kakko, right?
Yeah.
And Olausson doesn't. New York's trying to win now, so Olausson doesn't really do anything for them.
Yeah, I mean, he's an AHL guy a recent first-round pick that's like, whatever.
Maybe he turns into something.
However you feel. I have no idea what other teams feel about him. So
I just don't know why New York would have interest in a guy that's not already in the NHL.
My problem here is I can't understand why New York would want to move on from
Kakko.
Sure. Yeah.
Understandable.
Especially with Newhook, like they are the one thing that they're good on. They've got three centers down the middle with. I'm totally blanking. Zibanejad. Thank you. Zibanejad, Trocheck, and Hedl. Like
where does Newhook
a big
fit
part
there?
of Newhook's appeal is a future centerpiece. Yeah.
So. And then they trade Sam Girard and a first to Florida for Anton Lundell and some picks. You're
really buying on Anton Lundell.
Yeah.
You're really buying on him.
Anton Lundell is already way better than I thought he was going to be in his draft year. I really didn't think he had that offensive potential in him.
Took a big step back in the sophomore year.
Yep.
A little different lineup construction around him as well.
This just feels like swapping Newhook for Lundell in a really roundabout way.
It is.
Just for the sake of it, to me.
It is. And then getting a different style of defender because Susie and Shen kind of come in and
that side of
replace
it I understand a
Gerard.
little bit more. I don't know that I would do it that way, but I understand it.
Yeah. I like Anton Lindell. I don't like the deal.
Again, I don't mind getting those mid-round picks, but it doesn't feel like super great value for Gerard, for sure.
Yeah, and that's the end of it. It's not like those picks got flipped or anything like that. Those picks just got used, which your system can always use that in,
of course.
Those extra guys. Their system is so barren right now that
they need to put something in the cupboards.
You could use those, but you've given up next year's first. You've used this year's first, and then you added second and fourth round picks this year. Fine, but your defense, in my opinion, gets worse because as much as I like Carson Soucy, I think Sam Girard's better.
Look,
and
Carson Soucy and Luke Shen are your bottom pairing, right?
Yeah.
So you're giving up a non-bottom pairing guy and replacing him with two bottom pairing guys.
I think overall the value in that deal is pretty close, though, especially because Montour and Ekblad are going to be hurt deep into the season.
Yeah, fair.
Gerard really helps kind of keep that defense afloat while they wait out injuries.
I mean, I'd be very interested from Florida's side. I worry Colorado's overpaying a bit.
I agree, especially Gerard and the first.
Right, exactly.
That's probably I think that's a good start. I'm probably asking for 2 seconds instead of that fourth. I would want next year's second.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at Florida's pick table to see what they've got, but it'd be something like that.
All right. The roster very quickly. This one seems pretty straightforward. I don't think we'll have to do anything too crazy.
Yep. Lundell is your 3C.
Yep.
Danton Heinen's next to him. Kakau's on your right wing. It's fine. It's fine. This is fine. This makes sense in the with the way that the deal is. And Pacioretty next to McKinnon and Lehkonen. It would be very obvious why that's exciting.
Yeah.
If it works, that's an easy hell yeah.
Yeah. All right. One more.
Yep.
Next up, we have. Let's see. All right. Nothing too crazy in the RFA market. You signed Jack Johnson to come back. You do the Jonathan Drouin thing, another move we saw a lot of people do.
Garnett Hathaway won't be quite that cheap.
Probably not, but
I don't think Garnett Hathaway is going to break the bank, but I don't think he's coming from $1 million either.
And then you way underpay for Kevin Hayes, half retained, it looks like.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of like they were getting ready to give him away to St. Louis.
Yep. With a whole other package of crazy stuff.
Well, the way that the bones of that deal have shook out ended up being so hilariously tilted in St. Louis's favor. I'm glad it didn't go through.
Yep. They were just dumping Torrey Krug, basically.
Yeah, it was swapping Torrey Krug's salary out for the Sanheim and Hayes in a late first. It was ridiculous, man.
Anyway, not a big large number of moves here, but
to be honest with you, if they could get away with this, I'd probably do it.
I think this is actually, maybe it doesn't end up being Kevin Hayes. Maybe the details of that deal are a little bit different, but I think this is a somewhat realistic offseason for Colorado from here.
I would honestly try to add to this to try to recreate that St. Louis deal. I would add Manson
just to try and get
first
Sanheim.
round pick to try to get Sanheim. Yeah, absolutely, I would.
Look, the Drouin thing, I think we've talked about a lot.
If they end up doing it, dude, I'm fine. I'm fine with it.
I'm here for it too.
I'm down on I'm on board with it.
Yep.
So this roster ends up interesting because you end up with Johansson and Hayes.
Yeah. So you're
at $4 million.
You have kind of like a 2B and a 2C.
Yeah. Like your
I don't want to call either of them 2A. But
you're not looking at their center depth with Johansson, Hayes, and Eller and saying it's bad, but you're also not looking at it and going, "Oh my god,
yeah,
it's just good."
Right.
It's, to be honest with you, it's kind of how I feel about Seattle.
Yep.
Except with McKinnon at the top,
which is a lot better.
Which is really, really pretty special. But it's like, this is good, man. This is good.
I don't know if you did this on purpose or not, but just mechanically, I would not put Drouin with McKinnon.
Not to start with, I would probably swap on those. Ah, man.
I think it's super easy to run Lucky, Mikko, Mac, and then you can run Drouin, Johansson, Nichushkin.
Yeah, the problem is both Johansson and Drouin are big playmakers.
think that's okay.
And so I don't want them overpassing to each other. I would kind of prefer...
You can put Lecky down there. Lecky will shoot the puck then.
Yeah, right into the goalie's chest.
Yeah, sometimes.
Most of the time, man. I mean, that's not what he does.
I also think Johansson can shoot when he needs to.
That alignment isn't a huge problem for me. I think you would end up throughout the year. You would try all those combinations because you would just be like, "Hey, let's just mix this up a little bit."
And then the defense, you're literally just running back. So
yeah, it's all good.
Okay. On that note, we are brought to you all by Kind Love. You can go get your marijuana products today from a local Colorado business. They've been around forever. They started in 2010, so they know what they're doing when it comes to being a dispensary. When you go into a Kind Love store, you get 25% off with code DNVR. You can also order online if you use the QR code right there. They have a ton of amazing products. Kale, I saw you were raving about the turbo sticks the other day.
Those turbo joints are wild.
They're just little. They're like a toothpick. You can put them in anything. You can like shove them into a cigarette or a joint or whatever. They're super easy to use. They go anywhere, and then you're taking a trip to Venus on that one. So you can check out their Turbo Stick products and all of their other stuff. They have products for everyone. Go check them out today at your local Kind Love, and be sure to use the DNVR code. And we are also brought to you by the fantastic folks over at Volo Sports. You can get with Volo today. Look, perfect little event. You go do some Volo sporting, and then you go smoke your Turbo Stick. It works out with Kind Love.
Turbo Stick before the Volo event, and
then play terribly.
Play like you're on the moon.
Gonna be
Rockies baseball, baby.
It might be a 25-1
That's
situation.
what I'm saying. Exactly what I'm saying.
Volo is the biggest social sports company in the country. They really know what they're doing. They have all sorts of events, from flag football to pickup basketball, volleyball, tennis, badminton, you name it. They pretty much have every sport under the sun. A bunch of DNVR folks are in the kickball league right now. It's cup in hand, so you're having a good time drinking while you're playing kickball with Volo. When you go over to Volo, you can sign up for their pass. It's $200 for a year or $20 a month. Or if you're brand new and you want to try it out, their beta pass is just $10 a month for the first 3 months. So you can check it out. You can have a great time playing some fun sports with your pals or just random people. They have pickup games all over the place. And they often go down to the DNVR bar afterward to have a drink. So it's just a great time to hang out with Volo if you haven't done it yet. Now's the time to do it. You can get $10 off when you use code DNVR10 too. So check them out today. They have leagues all over the Denver metro area, both Lakewood side all the way over to the far side of Aurora. So they've got you covered wherever you live around Denver. Go check them out today. It's volosports.com/Denver, I think. Hang on. Let me find you guys the website so you guys can actually go over there and do the Volo sporting if I can find it. There we go. All right. Yeah. So volosports.com/Denver. I should have trusted my gut. I was right. Just believe in yourself, Rudo. All right. Second period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast, roasting rosters. Honestly, none of these have been that crazy to me yet.
No, I mean, the Edmonton one is a huge game changer. That the Taves Manson for RNH deal is it completely remakes the personality of your team and your strength and your weaknesses there.
All right. Yeah, you're right. That one's pretty crazy. I take it back.
I mean, that's a total shift in how your team is going to be. So
what's next? Oh boy. Okay. New Hook signed, Byram signed for reasonable contracts. You bring back Eller, you bring back Nieto, you sign Jake Gardner and Vinny Hinostroza. But obviously the big part of this one, you go out and get Nazem Kadri from Calgary. You bring him back. Calgary retains $3.5 million for a billion years.
So it would be a 6-year retention of $3.5 million.
There's no universe where that happens, right?
So that's what, $21 million?
Yeah, for a guy that doesn't play for them.
Yeah, so they would be spending $21 million over the next 6 years for Jean-Luc Foudy and a first-round pick.
Oh, God. There's no way. It's a 2025 first also. That's a tough look for Calgary.
Yeah. I have Brad's question as well. Is Jake Gardiner even alive?
Yeah, I don't know.
From a hockey standpoint, I think he's probably not actually dead, but
Can he play NHL hockey?
Can he
I don't
play
know.
in the NHL? It's such a strange. Like, did Jake Gardiner make this? Like,
Oh, God.
You know?
We're in this room again.
so, Vinny Nostroza, by the way, that's fine with me.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't
have
mind that at all.
I really like. I'm going to really struggle to nitpick most of the fourth line guys that people
As long
picked
as
out.
you don't overpay for them, I think it's fine. Yeah.
My question is both Nieto, Hinostroza. It feels a little redundant, but
Yeah.
Could we see the roster?
I assume Kadri's 2C. You just put Johansson on the wing. Okay.
Yeah, see, you're almost entirely running back your
Yeah,
bottom
I
6
don't-
from the postseason
you're-
series that couldn't score.
You're
That makes me nervous.
You're begging Alex Newhook to break out on the wing.
Yeah.
And then you're hoping Hinostroza's the guy he was in Chicago like 4 years ago.
Yeah. And again, with Jake Gardiner, we don't even know if he's
Can actually
can
play
pass
hockey.
a physical. Yeah.
Yeah.
All this for Nazem Kadri, which fine, like for $3.5 million.
Yeah, great.
to score 50 points a year for the next
Awesome.
couple of years before he really falls off. Like even when he really falls off at $3.5 million, it's not that
It's great for Colorado.
Yeah.
Again, I don't see any universe where Calgary even
the
considers it.
the
but
2025 first is like if you're projecting into the future, aren't you more asking for like a 2027 first? Like you're waiting for Colorado
go
to
way down the
slide
line.
out of its
Yeah.
prime.
You can get
And
a like pick in the top 10
and
or
like,
something.
And
yeah.
exactly, man, and like try to catch them where they're like coming down out of this era.
So, like, if Calgary was going to do this, why not do this for like Lindholm instead?
well, the price would be a lot more.
I understand that.
That's it.
They also wouldn't have to retain a ton of money for forever.
But you're talking about again,
right.
you're losing Lindholm.
So
this
what about
gets you Kadri
so
for
what
6
about
years.
Backlund? Would you be interested in
Yes.
Is it okay? So it's not necessarily just the Kadri forever problem solved.
Yeah, no, I'd be totally interested in Backlund because he's better than Kadri
I'm here for it. You're just not going to
for
have
what
him for
you
as
need.
long.
Like for what you need, he's better, but he's older, and you'd have to sign him to a deal.
Yeah, the Avs would end up paying more. I'm trying to find a way to make this work with Calgary because I just don't see them doing this with Nas.
I don't see him doing it either. We've talked about. We don't need to have the Lindholm Backlund conversation again until the deadline.
You're not wrong. All right, we can move on to the next one. There's still some bangers in here. I think.
Oh, totally.
I think there's still some good bangers left. This one's got a lot of stuff. Byram Newhook. Wow, he went the long term with Byram there. I like it.
A lot of trades. Let's do the free agents first.
Yeah.
Okay, 8 years of 6.5 isn't going to be enough for Byram,
Yeah, that's
in my opinion.
not for 8, right? But anyway,
The rest of these look pretty good.
yeah, mostly them bring back stuff. Ethan Bear's on there. I'm sure we'll get to trades and stuff. Jack Johnson coming back. Milan Lucic thrown in there, which is weird, but
Everybody getting $1 million is weird. You know, you can give a guy less than
yeah,
that.
he could do the $800K for all of them.
If you gave all those guys 800 or 900K, you could have saved like several
you just saved like
$100,000.
$800K. That's a whole nother contract.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these guys are going to be in the AHL.
All right, fair. Let's get to the trades.
You see Ethan Bear is in there.
Ethan Bear just not compensated by.
Yeah, that's the same thing with Pugliardi.
Yeah, I
that would be a
understand.
no qualify.
And
That's the
Avs
deal
go out
that
and
they
get
signed him to.
I'd be a little surprised if they didn't qualify Bear, but
Well, with the injury that he just suffered, where he's going to be out for, I think it was like 6 to 8 months or something. With the
Still.
shoulder. I think it's a shoulder. That's a problem.
I mean, you could just throw him on LTIR though. Like, who cares?
Yeah, that's what I said, and that's why I was like, "What's the issue here?" Well, the issue is the qualifying offer is like I think it's like 2 million or something.
I thought it was
so,
like 2.4 or something. Yeah.
yeah. So that's a thing, but yeah, Ethan Bear is exactly the kind of guy that I would be very interested in as a reclamation project if he
he's
springs
available,
free.
yeah.
If he shakes loose, man, you sign him and you do put him on LTIR and you just wait for that
hold
guy.
on to that,
yeah, you just
for
wait.
sure.
I'm all about it. I really like Ethan Bear.
And then the Sharangovich deal, this version, giving up the first for a second coming back.
I'm fine. I'm fine with that deal too because you get Sharangovich, you get another second round pick. It's kind of the same. Ultimately, it's the same thing. I mean, you give up that you give up the 5, but
And whatever.
you really don't care about giving up a 5th round pick. I don't. The McDermott thing, cool.
Get rid of him. You're freeing up $800K in cap
So
space.
I really like this Josh Manson, Brett Pesce idea.
This is the big part of it.
Yeah, I really like. It's definitely not enough. You'd need to give up a first in this deal. I have a hard time two things. Manson has made it pretty clear he doesn't want to be out on the East Coast, so I don't think he approves this trade.
Waiving,
and then the other thing is I have a hard time believing the Hurricanes would be interested in him. But the Hurricanes seem to have this weird hard-on for Tony DeAngelo, so I really don't know. Like, I'm not just going to, put it past them to be like, yeah, we like that guy. So I'm open to it. Brett Pesce, the Pesce thing is, it's not enough, but...
The concept is there.
Like if you scroll down to the roster and you look at that defense, you're going to be like, oh, this is real nasty.
Yeah, it makes sense for Colorado. I do wonder.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really have any backup plans with your forward depth here, right?
Yeah, I mean, you haven't done a lot for your forwards, and Milan Lucic is just a terrible fit all around.
Yeah, I
if you were going to spend that money, get Corey Perry.
Which there are people that did do that.
Yeah.
I don't know if we have one in here. Or
Yeah,
not,
I'm not sure either. So, can we see the roster?
Yeah.
Because we get down and if you see the actual roster a little bit, you'll see ran out of cap space probably because he gave everybody $1 million.
Yeah. It'd be pretty easy to have at least an extra $1 in there.
This is where Ethan Bear is going to be
when he comes back. Yeah.
Yeah, Ethan Bear. Where I like with Ethan Bear, that's a 2-year. I think it was a 2-year deal. So when you lose Brett Pesce in free agency, because you can't keep him. Both Pesce and Taves are free agents. If you're going to keep one of them, it's probably going to be Taves.
Yeah.
Pesce's results have started to take slight declines, and there have been a rise in shoulder problems with him. So when you're projecting long term, even though Pesce's, I think he's a little bit younger, I think you're probably talking about. You would prefer Taves. But Bear can replace Pesce in your lineup in a year. Yep. And that's where I like this part of it.
Yeah, I think it's super interesting. I wonder
that defense is really good, man.
I wonder in the immediate with Bear's injury if you don't try to do something better than Jack Johnson as the 7th, but
Yeah, I mean, again, that's where maybe you try and make the play for Connor Clifton.
Sure.
Where if you give some guys $800K instead of $1 million, you have the extra money to go get Connor Clifton instead of Jack Johnson.
Yep.
Or both.
You can squeak out that little extra value or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, if you just drop Frederick Olofsson to the minors, you could do that.
You have that money, yeah. That's fair. And then
you don't have an extra forward on your roster, but you know how those things go, man. You can always play with it during the season.
Yep. That, and you're hoping your
and Bear's on LTIR, so that's $1 million that gets opened up
with.
for the first 6 months of the season. So that's the that right there should be enough to get you a guy like Connor Clifton in to slide in.
Praying you don't have a single forward injury this year, or you're going to have depth issues. But
yep.
I did the same thing on my roster, so it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't go into the AHL guys and get into all that stuff. Like, you're like, hey, look, if they have the injury issues that they did last year, it just doesn't really matter.
All right, next. This one looks fairly small. Looks like you did Puyujarvi and Danton Heinen and Luke Shin as your guys. Besides trades, okay, you made a huge trade. Never mind. Yeah, so those are your guys you went out and got, and then you do Gerard and a first for Gustav Forsling and Sam Reinhart.
This is where you've greatly overestimated Sam Gerard's value.
This is a heinous underpay.
Like Gustav Forsling's a solid defenseman. Like
arguably at least as good as Sam Gerard.
I was going to say he's so pretty Sam Gerard-ish.
Yeah. He was terrible in the Cup final, though.
Yeah, I mean, So was all of Florida, right?
You're not wrong.
So this is like, if you take out Forsling and this is just Reinhardt,
I think you're probably about right.
I think you're pretty close to the neighborhood for Reinhardt. Problem being, once again, you will likely lose.
To get Forsling, you're probably throwing Newhook and another first in there, and maybe another prospect.
Yeah, I mean, maybe a first and maybe another first in like Barons
and
if you really don't want to give up Newhook.
Probably
so.
Florida just says LOL no. But
Yeah, probably, man. Especially with Montour and Ekblad out long term.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to need some guys to get them through the first half of the season. Forsling's going to be important there.
Yep. Yeah.
The rest of this is fine.
I like the concept of going after Reinhardt.
I loved everybody giving Curtis McDermott away to like random teams for random prices.
There were multiple people who just like put Curtis McDermott to a team and then in the comments said like any team. It's fine. It doesn't matter.
The extra notes was literally any team. Yeah. Everybody was trying to get rid of Curtis McDermott except the actual Avalanche. They're the only ones who were like, no, we like having this extra $1 million tied up in this guy we're terrified to play.
But in this world where you can get really good players for nothing, this lineup's kind of nasty.
I mean, that third line has a lot of potential to be super good.
Yep.
Obviously, Sam Reinhart just standing in front of the net, banging pucks home next to McKinnon and Lehkonen is
easy 30-goal scorer in that world. Like,
yeah, and then Gustav Forsling next to Luke Shen. That's a pretty good third pairing.
It's your third pairing,
It's a
by
pretty
the way.
good third pairing.
Feels pretty good if you could put that together.
Definitely. A lot of Luke Shen love, too.
Yeah, there was a good amount of Luke Shen. I blame you for that.
I was going to say, I feel like I started that.
No, we're good. We can go on to the next one now, I think. Oh, well, you would have had your roster on here if you didn't delete it.
I wonder if the comments ate him up, and this person was just like, I can't take this heat.
All right. This one, it looks like there's quite a bit of thing. Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
Let's start with the free agents.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the one big one where I was,
The usual stuff with RFA is going on and getting Sharon Govich. Did bring back Erod.
Yeah, so Erod for a comical underpay.
Yeah, that's like way underpay. I underpaid him, and that's way more than I underpaid him.
I think Connor Sheary is comically underpaid too.
Yeah, he is. I remember this one.
Yep.
He should be getting at least like $3 million.
And for some reason, Ian Cole and Luke Shen was the answer for the third pairing, where they're a little too samey for me.
Yeah, this whole thing is like a little bit too samey. You tried to solve the like second line wing spot with 4 guys.
Yeah, Erod, Drouin, Pacioretty, and Sharon Govich is like.
They're all kind of trying to do the same thing.
You
in your
really
lineup.
watched that. This person really watched the Seattle series and was like, they can't score. Never again.
I'm solving this problem.
Like, we're done having this problem.
But maybe you freed up some space with these trades.
Yeah. Where do we go with these deals?
I see Sam Girard's getting moved for Anthony Beauvillier retained.
I also feel like so again, another forward here.
Yep. Where did all? No, you didn't really trade any forwards either. You got a lot of forwards, my guy.
Yeah. So this is Bocage, a fourth and a third for Sharon.
Not enough.
Will just not be enough.
Not even like close to enough, really.
Yeah, just not enough. You would have been better off giving up the first for Sharon Govich in a second. It would have made it would have been a better deal for both teams.
I also don't I like Beauvillier. I don't know if I love the Girard for Beauvillier straight up.
I don't. I love Beauvillier.
There you go.
I just would not do that straight up.
You'd have to,
especially in this world where you have worked really hard to get a lot of forwards.
Yeah.
And then not being done here, let's get another forward.
You give up a bunch of random stuff and a first for DeBrusk.
Yeah, so Sam Malinsky's not going to have very much value. Freddie Olofsson's not going to have any value. Oscar Olausson, okay. The 5th and 6th, they're not going to be very valuable. This is like the Tanner Jeannot deal of you got how many pieces for Jake DeBrusk? And really, it's the first round pick. And Oscar Olausson. That's it.
This Boston trade was I don't want to have any picks in the 2023 draft. That's what that was.
Well, and this would have been a thing where it's like, hey, I could buy something like this when Boston was trying to dump salary.
But now they wanted to keep DeBrusk, and they did.
Exactly. So. Now that they've dumped a bunch of it with Taylor Hall today.
Yeah. Which we didn't know at the time, but.
Right. But also, like,
You also have
Okay.
15 forward. Like, what does your roster look like? How do you fit all these forwards in? I'm super curious.
Yeah.
So you just go Lekin, McKinnon, Rantanen, and then you have DeBrusk with Johansson and Nichushkin, and then your third line is Sharon Govich, Rodriguez, and Beauvillier.
That's fun.
And then Drew and Newhook, Shear. I mean, that's an unbelievable amount of skill.
Yeah, this is not the Olympics. You're gonna need
Some grinders in
You're gonna
there.
need like if you worked this hard, like if you put Logan O'Connor out of a job, you've worked too hard on the forward core part, big, because Logan O'Connor is a guy that
He's an NHL player.
you
for
just
sure.
leave him there.
Yeah.
He's totally fine as is.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy work, but
It's a lot of work, man.
I just don't even count Max Pacioretty, who you have at an LTIR still.
You're right. Like just hey, if he works out. So, which of those other guys did you also put out of a job? Is it
Right,
Drew
like-
Ann? Is it
It's overkill.
Is it Connor Sherry? Like it's way too much. Like this is somebody that got burned by the injuries last year and was like, no.
We're having infinite forward depth.
Yeah, exactly.
To be fair, they did call their roster, put a wing on it. So
They just
some
went out and got
cleverness
every
there.
reasonable winger. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah. And then your third pairing is Ian Cole, Luke Shen. So you're just gonna get
Just hope for the best.
eaten up.
Watch them get skated circles around. Yeah,
I mean, your PK is solved at that point.
I guess. All right, let's do one more here quickly, and then we can get to ours.
We only had one person try and trade for Scheifele. I don't know if they made it or not. It was a really unbalanced
I
deal.
looked at it, and yeah, it was weird.
It was like Gerard and like a second round pick or something for Scheifele. It was just not enough.
Okay, not much, but re-signing guys on the RFA front. This is a lot of people did go out and get Jonathan Taves. Then you brought in Jack Johnson as the only other real NHL relevant guy there.
Again, I think it's probably too cheap for Byram on an 8-year deal. That's $6 million.
Yeah, I think it's a little too cheap. You traded for Owen Tippett. You did a lot of the things I did, so we can talk about this in mine. I did it a little bit differently than you, but
I will tell you, I looked at this one and it made me go, what's Drake Caggiula been up to?
I also looked at that and I was like, is he even an NHL player still?
He's not.
Nope. Yeah. I do like the concept of the Tippett trade, as you'll see in a bit.
The thing here that you like is Drake Caggiula, Alex Galchenyuk, and Carson Turinsky. You're talking about really solid AHL guys.
If you lose a couple forwards, you feel okay about
exactly.
it. Yeah.
Like that's and like that was the one thing about this roster where it was like, hey, they actually did get a little deeper into it. I liked that part of it.
Yep. Okay. I don't think we need to cover this one more. So, on that note, we are brought to you by the fantastic folks over at Breckenridge Brewery, the official beer of DNVR. You guys can go get your Breckenridge Brewery either here at the DNVR bar, 8 different kinds on tap here. We're also getting a new drink menu, by the way. So come down, come check it out.
There will be an Avalanche specific drink.
Yeah, it should be a fun time. Or you can get your Breck Brew at your local liquor store. Use the Breck Beer Locator online at breckbrew.com to find it near you. They're in all 50 United States, so they are out there. When you get it, I mean, choose wisely. There's tons of amazing drinks for them. You can get whatever you want, and you will find a beer for yourself. And, you know, maybe if you're not into beer and hard liquor is your thing, you can go to Illegal Pete's for their happy hour. 11 at different locations here in Colorado with the longest happy hour around from 3 to 8 p.m. every single day. Not to mention, you know, they're kind of have delicious burritos with fresh ingredients. That's what Illegal Pizza is known for. So you get a great burrito, you get a great margarita for happy hour. You go sit out on the patio now that the rain is done. You enjoy your life here. I mean, if I'm just manifesting that, all right? If I keep manifesting, it'll be done eventually. But either way, Illegal Pizza is still there for you with delicious food. Go check them out. Again, 11 different locations here in Colorado, including one just a couple blocks from the DNVR bar. And last but certainly not least, make sure you get your Shady Rays for walking around in that no rain sunshine, all right? You want to be taking care of your eyeballs and not going blind from sun rays. You can go to shadyrays.com and use code DNVR today. When you order 2 pairs or more, you get 50% off. That's like buy one, get one free. It's a great deal, and Shady Rays will take care of you. For the first 30 days, if you lose them, break them, or just don't like your sunglasses, they'll replace them for completely free. It's a great way to go about it. They make great products. They've been rated 5 stars by a ridiculous number of people. Everyone seems to love their stuff, and they've got something for everyone. Even if you're not into sunglasses, if you're a skier or a snowboarder, they got goggles that you can wear. So check them out. Again, shadyrays.com with the DNVR code. And they also have a brick and mortar at the Park Meadows Mall if you're local. Third period of the DNVR Avalanche podcast. You or me, AJ?
Growing rumor of Tom Wilson to Ottawa.
Interesting.
Yeah. Don't know what the pieces would be. But
you'd have to know more there. You or me first?
Oh, we're in the third period.
Yeah.
Man, we really blew through that.
I mean, it's been like 50 minutes, but sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, how many did we not get to?
Yeah, I think we did like 9 or so.
Wow. That sucks. There were some that I wanted to actually see that we didn't get to. That's I don't know. Kale, pick one.
Okay.
One of ours.
Rudo's.
All right. Okay.
All right.
So I didn't do the AHL stuff because I'm lazy.
Yeah.
I brought back Erod, and then I got Matt Dumba as my UFA defenseman, and I also brought back Jonas Donskoy for a depth forward.
Ooh, dude. That is cheap for Matt Dumba.
You think?
Well, so that's if Matt Dumba doesn't get the big money deal that he would like to materialize.
Well, and this is why I did a 2-year deal with him, because he'll be 30 at the end of this deal.
Yeah.
The cap will be up.
Cap will go up twice.
Where he can get that next big payday. It was kind of my concept here with Dumba.
Okay, so the Gavrikov
Exactly.
concept.
Yeah.
'Cause
Maybe
he is coming off like a 14-point season or something insanely
It was like
low.
a 17-point season, and then I think the year before it was a sub 30-point season too. So
Yeah, so his offensive reputation is way higher than reality.
And if that deal ends up being 3.5 instead, okay, whatever. But I wouldn't go much more than that. Donskoy is the depth forward, traded for Dylan DeMello.
Donskoy's not healthy though.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
Okay,
Assuming is he out for forever? Maybe
it's a
$1 million.
concussion,
Yeah.
so that's where it's.
To me, it's $1 million. If it doesn't work out, you just dash him on LTIR and do whatever you want with $1 million. It's not a big deal. Went for DeMello as another defenseman, and then I made the move for Owen Tippett. Josh Manson's kind of a placeholder here. Again, I know he probably doesn't want to go out east, but I couldn't in the moment figure out a deal that I liked with Sam Girard or Devon Taves as a bigger kind of swing.
Yeah.
But that's probably where that deal ends up if you go out and do it.
It's not enough for DeMello.
You can do a thing where you end up trading the first for a third or 2 seconds and a third or something. And then you give them the third, whatever. I really don't. So the thing is, like, Winnipeg should sell, but
They're not going to.
I know.
Like, they're going to move the guys that don't want to stay, but otherwise they're going to continue to try to be competitive.
That's fine. Winnipeg can be wrong and ruin my dream with DeMello. It's okay.
I mean, I think if they're not in a playoff spot, dude, DeMello and Dylan
Should be gone at the
are
deadline.
guys that
yeah.
if the Avs should be like kind of
for sure.
have on their deadline list.
I'd be happy with
100%,
either
man.
one there.
That's a move that I just think, you wait for the deadline, and that's where Winnipeg needs to see they're out of it. And like Chevy needs to be like, okay, it didn't work this year. After he makes all the moves and sells all of his good players.
Yeah. And then, I tried to be realistic with my bottom 6 roster construction. Erod is kind of your flex guy around the lineup, and then Foodie is fill in whichever guy you like that makes an impression in training camp, really.
Yeah. Boy, that fourth line is really easy to play against.
Yeah, I agree. It's not super difficult to play against.
I mean, I'm taking Donskoy out of there just because he's not healthy at the moment. But
and if you want to
that's where you put Fredrik Olofsson,
right? Replace Donskoy, or if you're throwing Donskoy on LTIR, go out and bring Cogliano back, or pick a guy that runs into people, whatever. You can make that work.
Nuke isn't getting traded, man.
Definitely not happening. Yeah. Anyway, I didn't do anything too complicated. I really just wanted to fill out the Avs top 6 with Owen Tippett to see what happens.
There was a comment earlier about why the Flyers would move on from Tippett, and to be honest with you, He's coming off a 40-point season. Flyers fans need to calm the fuck down about Owen Tippett.
This dude he's 24.
He is like a solid NHL player, 20-goal guy. He might, like, maybe he goes off and has a 30-goal season sometime in the future and it all goes really, really well. But, like, this idea of, like, Owen Tippett is, like, one of the guys they have to build around. It's blowing my mind,
He's
man.
he's not a top-line player. Like,
it blows my mind. Like, he is a solid wing.
Yep.
His skating would fit in wonderfully in Colorado. Obviously, the shooting, goal-scoring ability, very, very good fit for the Avalanche, and that would be why the Avalanche would move out a guy like Josh Manson.
It makes a ton of sense to slap him next to Ryan Johansson, right?
Yeah, totally. That guy that wants to pass against to a guy that will try and shoot from anywhere.
Yep.
He's just gonna rip that one-timer from all over the place. They don't need a 2C, man. They got one. You've spent this entire show saying it. I get it. They have a 2C.
You're in this room now where there are plenty of people that think Ryan Johansson isn't a 2C, but the Avs think he's a 2C.
Exactly.
So it doesn't matter.
And the Avs have all the assets where they're going to go until the deadline, or at least until January, with Johansson probably as their 2C.
Yep.
I'll say this, and they'll go out and they'll trade for Lindholm like later today, and they'll be like, AJ, you're an idiot. And I'll be like, well, I guess so.
When you're wrong, you're wrong.
But they made that move to that's their 2C.
Yep.
So
all right, AJ. Did you do more ridiculous stuff than I did?
Here we go.
All right.
So I trade Devon Taves in a first-round pick to Buffalo.
So yes.
And I got Ryan Johnson, who was the guy who was a first-round pick 4 years ago. What's he going to be as a pro? I don't know.
I never liked him, but
and I do. He's one of my guys.
fair.
And then I got JJ Peterka and Jack Quinn.
Jack Quinn, I'm about it.
Where I feel like Buffalo fans would hate this because they're like, oh, we gave up a bunch of our young guys for Devon Taves, who's 30, and he's not really big and physical. Well, they're all dumb, and they don't realize that Devon Taves is super sick and can play next to Rasmus Dahlin on the right side, and that would be a nasty-ass top pairing. Okay, so I did that. And then I got two guys in Peterka and Quinn that
I love that part of the deal. Yeah.
they are two wings, and where I thought it was fair for Buffalo, I didn't take any of their centers.
Yep.
I left Cousins, I left Tage,
Middlestat.
I left Middlestat, I left Kulich, I left the other guys that could play center. The other one, Noah Ostlund. I left all their middle guys there for them.
Yeah.
I just took two of the wings that I like.
I think Cousins probably ends up on the wing eventually, but
The rubber's going to meet the road with Middlestat and Cousins and Thompson.
Right.
They're not going to be able to keep all three. Something's going to have to give somewhere.
and it's not like they're completely empty on the wing either. They still have Alex Tuck. They
So
have guys.
why would
there.
Buffalo decline? Make a case for me why Buffalo would say no to this? You get a top pairing defenseman. Now I understand how old he is. I understand he is 30. He will be 30 years old.
If Taves says I'm not signing, Buffalo declines.
Okay, but Buffalo has the cap space to give him a huge extension.
Right. They can. This would be Devon Taves saying I'm not playing for you.
Okay, and like that would be the only thing that would stop me. I don't know why that would be the case.
You asked me to come up with a reason. That's the only reason I could find.
Right. So dead in my tracks. That's it. But to be honest, like, what else would it be? What else? I understand they're giving up but they're giving up wings, which they have a ton of dudes.
Yep. Yeah, I think this makes
They have
sense.
so many high-end forward prospects. They can afford to give these guys up.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on that front.
And Peterka and Quinn, I don't project either as a top-line player. I think Peterka maxes out in the middle six.
Yeah,
he's probably
more
a
of a
third
third
liner.
liner, I agree.
And I think Quinn is your goal-scoring guy that ends up on your second line. Mm-hmm. And that's where I think they would be. And 1 year of Devon Taves, again, this would come with the idea that they would sign him because they have the money to.
Yep.
So they would sign him, and then I gave them a first round pick.
Yep. It would be really fun. I think the Avs would do it. I think Buffalo should do it if this came up. I don't have a lot of complaints about this other than your Scott Mayfield deal.
So then I go in. I go into this, and I go into free agency. I give all these guys 2-year deals, which is going to be a really big problem in 2 years.
Yep.
Because both Peterka and Quinn's ELCs also end in 2 years. And I went and I looked at it, and the Avs have like $45 million of cap space in 2 years when Mikko's deal ends and Georgiev's deal ends and all these guys'
You've
deals
got a
end.
lot of problems.
So there's like a bunch of things where it's like in 2 years, I'm making all the financial decisions.
Yeah.
But I also have the room to do it.
You're also going ham for the next 2 years.
Right. Also, because the deals that I make in free agency here, I give Mayfield a 5-year deal for $4.5 million. All right. I go maybe a little high on both term and AAV, but I want to make sure I get the guy. And I had the space in this case. I honestly had the cap space to do it.
Yep.
When I moved Taves out. So and I bring Lars Eller back at just some random cheap number for a year.
Sure, whatever.
Jesper Fast, I give 3 years at 2.6.
Wow.
I think he'll get right in that range.
I
think it might be a little bit high, but I think he gets right in that range.
I think you're looking at the closer to 2, the better with him. But
My feel for him is at like 2.3, but again, I had the space to make sure I could get these guys where I'm not losing good
I
players
was
for
going
a
to
couple
say,
hundred.
you went with like my number for OEL.
Well, and so OEL, again, this is OEL. I once again, because I traded Taves, I had the space, and this was my if I'm one of 7 teams offering him $1 million, I'm not standing out even with Colorado and all they have to sell. In this case, I'm buying him at $2.5 million. I'm whoring out and saying, come play for me for a year.
Yeah, I think this does a great job of solving the Avs' depth on both forward and defense. Obviously, you're not as good as Devon Taves on your defense, but you have to give up something.
Definitely. You definitely get... It's you're worse, but you're a little bit different, and it's really reliant on Byram taking the big step forward. I put I put Quinn next to McKinnon and Lehkonen as like those guys are going to do a lot for him, and he's just going to score goals. And then I have a third line of Paterka, Newhook, and Fost, which I just think is going to be
that's fun.
I think it's going to tear shit up.
Yep.
And it's going to be a two-way big time problem.
Eller makes your fourth line a bit harder to play against.
Exactly. And then I have Myers. For me, one of the things that I really liked here is I gave Myers a second year.
Sure.
So if he has a good year, I don't have to pay him more money next year.
Yeah,
exactly.
Okay. And then the one thing I would do different here is I would probably just live the life of Jack Johnson and then go get DeMello or Dylan at the deadline.
So the conversation that I had at the bottom of my defense here, because I really like my top four. My top four is what I wanted it to be.
I'm just not a big fan of Mayfield.
I'm
but
relying on Byram to take the leap next to McCarr.
Of course.
I've got Gerard next to Mayfield,
which is fine.
which I think is going to be a really solid second pairing, really steady.
Yep.
It's not going to be sexy. It's not going to be on a lot of highlight reels, but I think it's going to be really nasty in its own right. And then Carson Soucy versus OEL.
Yeah.
So this decision came down to I'm giving OEL the 1 year chance to prove it and
be
show
that
that he can
guy
be the
still,
guy
yeah.
next to Manson. Okay. Like, I think that's going to be, it's got a possibility to blow up in my face. That's where Jack Johnson's kind of my safety net.
Sure.
Where Jack Johnson, Josh Manson, we know that
They can show up and not
we
hurt
know
you.
that they can
Yeah.
coexist together.
Yeah.
It won't be really high end. But it's not like raw survival either.
Yep.
It's fine. I didn't want Soucy because I got Ryan Johnson in the trade. And Johnson spent 4 years in college. He should really only have 1 year of AHL
graduate.
seasoning.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work with OEL, I can move on from OEL. And Johnson can take that job if he projects the way that I think he will.
Yeah.
As like a big-bodied, puck-moving guy that I think is going to be okay at everything. I do think he's a third-pairing guy, and I think he would fit nicely next to Manson down the road. Also, it saves me a little bit of money because Johnson will be on the ELC versus Soucy, who I had at about 2.5 as well.
I guess I just have a little bit more faith in Manson than you do as potentially still being a top 4 guy, assuming he's healthy.
I'm cool, man. I'm cool moving things around there. Like I'm not locked into that.
What I'm saying is I just think you can find a little bit more cash to play with if instead of a Mayfield that I feel as an overpay.
I thought about Orlov as the Taves replacement.
That would be interesting.
I thought about taking the money of OEL and
just going for the
Mayfield
big,
and
the
going
big
for
shot.
Orlov and seeing if I could get him for 7.5.
probably too little, but
So I was like 7.5 over 7 years, where you're
give him the security. Yeah.
where you're really
Boy.
you're really talking about the end of his career. It could be a really big problem for you.
It'd be fun for the first 3 years, though.
So because I thought Orlov, Makar, I've traded Taves. And I've recreated as close to I can.
Orlov.
I thought about that, and then I ended up. I decided to go with the depth a little bit.
I think this one is more realistic
because I think Byram is going to be worth it and will
fair.
justify a bigger raise down the road.
Yep.
Whereas if I go Orlov, I'm afraid I can't. I'm going to have a problem with Byram later.
Shane Bowers has been traded, apparently. All right, that's
Cool.
a thing. We did get one super chat here from the incredible Drew. Back around in town saying, missing seeing the live shows, still loving the daily content though. Take care, guys. Much appreciated, Drew.
All love, buddy.
Yep. All right. Have our rosters been officially roasted enough?
Yeah. I'm going to fight people who tell me that my Taves deal isn't enough. He's a top 15 defenseman.
Yep. I don't
For a team that wants to take the step forward, or for a team that thinks of itself as, hey, we're coming.
I think that's actually one of the better Taves deals that I've seen. But either way, we do have to wrap up today's show. Tomorrow, you're getting Jesse and Megan live from Nashville.
Yeah, right now, I just saw on Twitter, they are sitting down in an exclusive with Kel McCarr.
Ooh, sick.
So that's something that you're not going to get elsewhere.
Keep your eyes out for that awesomeness. We will also be doing a mock draft with all of ALLCITY tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, big mock city, ALLCITY mock draft, including every member of the NHL beats across ALLCITY network.
So it's going to be a
We
banger.
all have teams. We're doing the entire first round. I don't know if the physical manifestation of the podium has worked itself out or not.
We'll see.
We'll see end up how it goes, but somebody here has the second pick.
No one's wanted to trade for it yet. So
I've got picks for Nashville and Winnipeg. I really want the PLD thing to be done by tomorrow morning.
I've got Vancouver at 11 if you want to talk.
We briefly had conversations about Nashville,
It didn't
but
really
moving
work out.
Yeah, moving 15 and 24 for 11 is not a fair
It's
deal
not.
for me.
I would take that deal.
Yeah, for me, not great.
I know.
I don't know. What do you want to move up?
Oh, I'd have to look. I'm not doing this without looking at the cap friendly. But we did also check it out this morning. Posted a video of 3 potential targets for Avs at 27.
This isn't true, my man. This last comment at the end here that says the fact that he's a Gerard. The fact is he's a great regular season player, but really struggles in the playoffs. When the physicality picks up, he just had a great Seattle series.
Arguably their
Who's
most consistent defenseman.
ultra physical team that attacked him repeatedly, and he was very, very good. This drives me crazy. It's like we're just ignoring things that have happened because it doesn't fit the conversation.
Yeah. Anyway, we don't need to have that conversation for the 100 millionth time. We're going to get out of here for today. We appreciate all y'all. Tune in for all of our amazing content tomorrow. Like and subscribe here on YouTube for all the good stuff we have. We will see you in the next one.